Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dan Hicks, County Judge. I'm here with Perry Westmore, Fire Chief and Emergency Management Coordinator. We're going to give you your daily briefing. You might have seen Perry this morning. I didn't give him an opportunity to speak because I wanted him to save his voice for this afternoon because I'm going to have him pretty busy here in a few minutes. We won't take much of your time, only about an hour, hour and a half. Just kidding. It's not going to be near that long. I'm going to give you your Texas cases, 9,353. Total tests in Texas is 96,258. In the Texas hospitals was 1,491. Texas fatalities is 177. In Scurry County, we've had 21 tests. We have one case today. We made that announcement early this morning. There are 11 negative tests and 9 pending tests. So regarding these positive tests, medical staff can't give out information about the person tested, who they are, where they work, or anything like that. I didn't ask who it was. I don't want to know. I didn't ask if it was a male or female. I don't need that information. I don't want to violate someone's privacy. I know it can be concerning as to someone who's tested positive, that whether they've had contact with you or not, but we have to treat everyone as if they've tested positive, and that's kind of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. If we follow the guidelines, we wash our hands, we wear our masks, we do our social distancing, cough or sneeze into our elbow, we'll slow this thing down. Now that we've had one, we feel like there's probably going to be more. So violate HIPAA regulations, and I would not ask anybody to. So you want to talk about the state's orders and our orders that we issued? There's been some question about whether Governor Abbott's order is a recommendation or it's a requirement, and they clarified that information yesterday.
Right. They held a press conference yesterday, a rather lengthy press conference, and did about 2.5 hours of questions and answers. And one of the questions that was asked was, is it mandated, and that was the word in the question, right, is it mandated that we stay home, or is this merely a suggestion? And the governor was very clear that his order is a mandate, with the exceptions for people who work in essential businesses to continue to staff them. And there are a few other things too that the governor clarified: going jogging, taking a walk in the park, things like this. But otherwise, the governor was very clear. A stay-at-home order means stay at home.
Right.
And that's not coming from us.
Right.
That is coming from the governor of the state of Texas. And then many jurisdictions, Scurry County being one, have issued our own orders, which cannot be less restrictive than the governor,
right,
but in some cases can be more restrictive.
Right.
And yours pretty well parallels what the governor had put out there.
Right. And the major difference between ours and the governor's is going to be the church services. And there was a little bit of confusion on that as to what they could do. And then the Attorney General sent out some guidance for houses of worship. They are allowed to provide essential services. They're considered an essential service. They must, however, whenever possible, conduct their activities from home or through remote audio or video services. And this is to slow the spread. If a house of worship cannot conduct its activities remotely, then the White House and CDC guidelines still control in order to stop the spread of coronavirus. This means instructing sick employees, volunteers, and guests to stay home, practice social distancing by maintaining appropriate distance between people, good hygiene, washing your hands, all of the things that we've been talking about. Right. And it also goes down in here to say that if a community is experiencing moderate to substantial, then the CDC recommends a reduction of activities in coordination with local health officials, possibly smaller gatherings, incorporating social distancing measures, cancellation of activities with 10 or more people when high-risk populations and attending, including those over 65 and those with underlying medical conditions, and use of creative means to deliver other faith-based services. So one of the options they give would be to hold an Easter service in a parking lot with everybody staying in their car with the windows down, parked in every other spot, with the minister using amplification to preach.
Okay.
They've also said that you could do drive-through if you needed to do communion or do a blessing through a similar drive-up type service. Smaller congregations may consider conducting multiple services of 10 people or fewer in their sanctuaries. So that's some of the guidance. And what we've done is we put that on our website. Or if it hasn't been put on yet, it's our order.
Right. So we have Easter Sunday coming up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks like to have special activities.
Right.
Obviously, this year, those are going to have to be different.
Absolutely.
What suggestions would you have for that?
Well, that's a tough one because, I would say that the churches need to follow these guidelines. We still have to maintain those social distancing. We can't go to our families' houses and group up like we normally do.
Right.
We can't have big groups of 10 or more doing the big Easter services. Don't have family coming in for Easter services. My son and daughter-in-law live in College Station, and they're not going to be able to make it this weekend, so I'm not going to get to see them or my grandson. And we were really hoping for that. So
the Easter egg hunts need to be on your property?
On your property, yeah, absolutely. Don't get the other kids. Don't bring the cousins together if they haven't been around each other. Don't do that. Don't have an Easter egg hunt in the park.
Okay.
That's one of the big ones we want to do. But yeah, if you're going to have an Easter egg hunt, do it for your kids and your kids only. Don't have it for other groups of kids.
Okay, good. A couple of other things that have come in just today. The Colorado River Municipal Water District, which is the authority over Lake J.B. Thomas, issued some new guidelines today. And based on Governor Abbott's direction, they are making some changes out there. In a nutshell, they are closing all of the pavilions, closing all of the public access areas. However, they are not closing the lake. The Southside Park boat ramp is still open, but just their intent is to avoid any gatherings of people, which goes back to the presidents and the governors and everyone else's CDC's guidelines on social distancing. So the lake is not going to be closed, but the public areas will be closed as far as any type of a public assembly.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's one of those that it's springtime. People want to get out and go to the lakes. The other one is that Atmos put out that they're trying to do their part for our communities as well. Their employees are following the guidelines so that they limit the spread. They're working in smaller crews and staying 6 feet apart. They're using screening precautions to protect customers and employees, and they're going to begin wearing face cloths covering their faces so that they protect everyone, following the CDC's guidelines of wearing a mask or a face cloth. They said that they're going to be working in and around your neighborhood, but they're also going to be working with plumbers and other qualified people to limit in-home customer interaction. One of the big things here that I'm seeing is that it says last Friday we announced $1.5 million donation to quickly stock the shelves at local food banks around the country. Also partnering with various nonprofit agencies, schools, and hospitals through our footprint to assist the community. And they took the early step to voluntarily suspend natural gas disconnections on customer bills, and also decided to defer implementation of current compliance filings in Texas that impact customer rates until at least September 1st. So this is going to be on our website as well, and I think the city will link to it as well. But it just shows that they're doing their part.
Okay.
So
can we ask that you don't shoot the messenger?
Absolutely.
Because we need to talk about some hard things. And there have been some efforts made by various people, myself included, to put the information out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the comments that come back sometimes are just a double-edged sword. So we're asking you not to shoot the messenger. When the governor, the president, the county judge, from the top all the way down to the local level, are issuing stay-at-home orders,
Mm-hmm.
it's for my safety, your safety, and everyone out there who's watching safety. It's not to try and infringe upon anyone's rights. It's not to try and take any type of control away. Everyone understands this is an invisible enemy that we're fighting right now. We don't know where the enemy is, and the only way that we can have any control whatsoever in fighting this is to try and stay away from the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these orders, the governor, just the summary here of the governor's orders is 4 pages. All of these are issued to try and protect the public,
Correct.
to keep people from getting sick, to keep the hospitals from being overloaded to the point that they can't take care of the sick from this or the normal everyday things that people are still getting sick, heart attacks and strokes and those things. So please don't shoot the messenger, but let us talk for just a minute. One of the things that I've noticed, and this is just an example, I'm not using this to pour hot coals on anyone's head, but Walmart has done what they can
Mm-hmm.
to promote the social distancing. And one of the things that they've done is they have fixed their exit door to where it does not open from the outside, and they have set up a row of baskets to try and have a one-way in
Right.
and a one-way out to promote the social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And all you've got to do is pull up in the parking lot and sit there for a couple of minutes, and you can watch person after person after person go up and stand at the exit until someone from the inside triggers the door, and then a group of 4 or 5 or 6 will go in. Well, meanwhile, those 4 or 5 or 6 have stood at the door and talked to each other and exchanged, I can't believe they're doing this, whatever the conversation may be. When the intent is to get folks to take 2 or 3, 4 more steps to the south, go around the baskets that have been set up to provide a kind of a barrier,
Mm-hmm.
and go in the entrance. And, you can sit there that same 3 or 4 minutes in the parking lot and watch families of 4 and 5 go in and families of 4 and 5 come out. And again, don't shoot the messenger. We didn't write these rules. We're just trying to help folks understand why they're in place. Mm-hmm. The fewer people in your family that can go to the store, the less chance you're going to bring that germ back into your home. So if 5 of you go and only 1 needed to, that's 4 more opportunities for that germ to come into your home and make your family sick. So again, we encourage people, the one person, 1 basket rule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Snyder's doing it yet. It could happen, but we have heard that United's, I'm assuming in Lubbock, they are limiting the number of people in the store at any given time.
Right.
So whatever their amount is, we'll say 50 people can be in the store, and until 10 come out, 10 more can't go in.
Right.
And perhaps we won't have to see that.
Right.
But probably we will see more and more of these type things. And all of them are intended to keep people safe, to keep people
Mm-hmm.
from getting infected or spreading infection.
Right.
And so just as an emergency management organization, we are urging people to please abide by the rules. Please understand why they are there, and please don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, absolutely. These rules are in effect as much to protect you as it is to protect me and to protect our seniors, our kids, our families, our friends and neighbors. So I keep saying this. We might feel like we're healthy. We might get it and we're going to get through it, no problem. But if we pass it on to someone we love that can't take this virus and it causes them harm, we're going to feel awfully bad about that. So great point, Perry. I appreciate that. I hope we don't have to get to that point, and that's not my intention at all. But I understand that some businesses have gone to that point on their own. So limiting the number of people that are coming in and out.
I've not been in. I've been in 2 businesses since it started.
Right.
Because I am one of those people that will not do well if I get this virus.
Right. Yeah.
and one of them was Jibo's.
Mhm.
And I noticed they had places on the floor, please stand here,
Right.
please stand here
Mhm.
at the checkout line. And some other things as well. Great signage. I was really impressed with the
Right.
signage, encouraging people to practice the social distancing,
Mhm.
and not giving them any credit above many other stores that have done the same thing.
Right.
But each of the stores I know have taken steps to try their best to promote the safety aspect of this. So we just encourage folks to whatever they've got in place, whatever
Right.
they're trying to. If it's a one-way aisle, please,
Mhm.
please just whatever it is they're trying to do, work with them.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. What else do you have before we get into the DSOs?
Really nothing other than we continue to see people patronize our restaurants by doing
Mhm.
drive up
Right.
or carry out, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And certainly we want to encourage that, do whatever we can to help our local folks stay in business.
Absolutely.
And one other thing, to be honest with you, I don't know how to say this, but I'll make a shot at it. Snyder's a small town.
Mhm.
There's not a whole lot that goes on in this town that isn't in one way or another essential.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
So when we see the pictures on television of Times Square in New York without a taxi, we've never seen that before.
Right.
And people say, "Well, College Avenue looks just like it does every day." Well, it does, but that does not mean that everyone is out there ignoring the stay-at-home order.
Right.
It just means that a lot of folks in Snyder still have to go to work just to make the essential things happen.
Right.
And so there is still a lot of traffic on College. And so we want to applaud those employees that continue to go to work, to keep the lights turned on, to keep the water running, to keep the banks open, whatever it is. The people in the front lines at the cashiers at all of the locations,
Right.
having to stand right there and deal with the public. Thank you for continuing to go to work. We appreciate it, and just ask you to continue to do that, and we'll continue to pray for your safety.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
DSOs.
DSOs. What is a DSO? It's a disaster summary outline that we're asking every business in Scurry County to fill out and turn in back to the auditor's office. So first question I have on my list of who fills it out. Like I said, it's every business in Scurry County. Why are we going to fill this out, Perry?
Well, let me go the long way around the block, because
All
I would really like for people to understand this. If we had a tornado, in order for FEMA to even begin to know how to help us, they're going to have to know what's happened. So they would ask us to go out and do what we in emergency management call a windshield assessment.
Okay.
It means we go out and say, this house is 70% damaged, 50%, 30%. And then we go back and look up the taxable valuation of that home. And then we determine about, can this home be rebuilt? Can it not? And all of those numbers are soft because it's just a windshield assessment. That's all it is. But those numbers have to go to FEMA for them to start their process of getting money to come back to our community. And none of this happens overnight.
Right.
So into a spreadsheet and try and determine the dollar amount of the damage. If it were only our county, we would have to meet a certain threshold before the state would allow us to declare a disaster. Let's take that up a step now. Let's say it's a hurricane. The state then has to have a threshold before they can get a declaration from the president.
Correct.
In this case, everybody got the declaration because we knew how bad and how big and how difficult this was going to be. So we're not sending this information into FEMA now to get a declaration. We've got that.
Right.
But in order for the government to start calculating how can we get money back, how much goes where, who gets what, then we need to start getting this information together. So there's a form on the county website, it's on the city website, that we need every business, even if you're a self-employed cotton farmer.
Absolutely.
If you have not been affected, If you've not lost a dime or spent a dime due to COVID-19, then I suppose we don't need one from you, but it would be nice to have it with zeros on it so that we will know that you didn't get overlooked somewhere.
Right.
So this is going to be an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're asking for numbers from the month of March. And what this will be is an initial assessment from businesses of what it has cost them to deal with COVID or what they have lost if they simply lock the doors.
Right.
And the form will step you through whether it's payroll dollars, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's operational utilities, insurance, if you're leasing your building, your lease money,
Right.
the form will step you through that. Now
Mm-hmm.
then, we do not want you or need you to have your accountant work this up.
No.
That's an expense at this point that you don't need to incur. But what we need is a good faith estimate. And, if you say, well, I don't know how much money I lost in March, look at the last 12 months and get us an average.
Right.
That's close enough.
Okay.
Now, all of these numbers will go through the county auditor's office, and they will roll them up to the Texas Division of Emergency Management in Austin, and they will roll them up to FEMA. And we will have to do this until this disaster is over.
Right.
So people who are saying, I keep hearing about this FEMA money. They keep saying, don't give up the ship yet because money's coming to save my business.
Right.
We hope will be the case, and that's exactly what this is for, is to get the information up to FEMA that says all of these businesses in Scurry County lost this much money, and then FEMA will determine how to work with that. Now then,
Right.
A couple things. You don't really need to know what I'm fixing to tell you to fill out this form, but this is a 75-25.
Okay.
The businesses will, I believe, have to come up with 25%, and that does not have to be everything in dollars. It can be, you can count volunteer time.
Okay.
There are other things, and that information will come later.
Right.
But right now, we need this form, and we need it fairly quickly in order to start rolling these numbers up to the state, and they will roll them up to the federal level.
Right.
And then probably around the first of next month, we'll need to do it all over again.
Correct.
We do not need you to duplicate the numbers. This will be period by period,
Right.
not cumulative.
Right. Okay.
And the form is easy. It's simple. You might even want to read a couple of those just to help folks understand. But
Sure.
it's just, in whole dollars for the month of March, what expenses did your business incur to deal with COVID-19? And there's actually a blank on here that says, is your business open or closed? Well, if it's closed, we know you're shut down and you're not making any money. If it's open, then you may be making some money, but not what you would routinely make.
Right. Are you fully open or limited open
Right.
operations?
And the form shouldn't take 10 minutes, I hope, to actually fill out. It may take you a little longer than that to round up the numbers for
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
But that's basically what it is, and that's the purpose for it. Because without this, there's no way that anyone can start to get a handle
Right.
on what this is costing.
Yeah, it's such a different type of disaster than anything we've ever seen before or may ever see again. And I hope we don't ever see anything like this again. But that it's really hard to get a handle on the dollar amount that we're affected so far and how much we will be affected in the long run, as we don't know when the end will come. We don't know when all those numbers will start dropping off where we bend the curve back down. So
yes. We've been saying businesses, and that is correct. They did also add in houses of worship.
Okay. Yes, that's right. They are specifically identified in this DSO that houses of worship need to fill this out as well. Right. So how they're impacted. We mentioned that it's going to ask if your business is open or closed. What date did you close? If you're closed, if you're fully open or limited in operation. If you had to lay people off, how many did you lay off? Were they full-time or were they part-time? Monthly average gross income for the last 12 months. What was your March income? And then it comes down and including yourself, if you normally draw a salary, what wages have been paid since the day you closed, what business expenses you've paid. Have you sustained any loss due to closing other than normal revenue, such as spoilage of food, expiration of stock, things like that? List any and describe other expenses you've incurred. Um, then it goes into routine operational expenses, non-payroll that are higher than normal as a result. Any expenses directly as a result of COVID-19 not listed above. And it just kind of, it mentions farmers as well. So if you're a farmer, we'll need you to put that in there as well. And this even goes for the self-employed as well,
Yes,
because they're going to be impacted also. So if you're self-employed, we want you to fill this out also. So like we said, you're going to send this to the county auditor, and there is a web email that you'll send it to. And that is on our website and on the city's website as well. The question I had about it yesterday is this information going to be made public? It is not made public. It's kept here at the auditor's office, sent to the state. We're not going to put it out for anybody to see. It's your private information. We're just collecting this to send to the state, to send to FEMA, so that we know what the total disaster effect is here in Scurry County.
And there will be a time when the numbers will need to be all not necessarily audited, but there will be a time when the numbers need to be much more specific.
Right.
And at the point in time where that information is sent in, those numbers are, of course, subject to audit because this is a federal program. One of the conference calls that we had, if you're not sure, put it in there.
Right.
And then as it gets to be a little more descriptive and a little more refined, then some of those things might have to come out. But for now, they had rather you include something that you weren't sure of than to not include.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I know it's going to generate some questions. You can call my office or call the auditor's office, and we'll get those questions answered. Send us an email. We'll answer those questions on email as well. I'm trying to answer every call that I get. So call my office, and I'll give you a call back if I need to. If I don't have an answer, I'll get an answer for you. I guess I just want to round this out by saying, hang in there. We're going to be all right. We do have a case here. I'm betting we have more. I'm not guessing as to what tests are out there. This is just my thought. That has nothing to do with the tests that are out there. But I'm willing to bet there'll probably be more cases come up in the future. So do your social distancing, protect yourself, protect your families, and protect those that you work with and those you love.
I had one more thing that came out of the call with the governor yesterday, and they had the director, I guess, of the Texas Employment Commission on the line as well.
That's right.
And they were saying if you have been laid off, file for unemployment.
They did.
Now, it may be a little difficult. They have hired a lot of extra people. They are improving their website daily to where you can do almost all of it, if not all of it, online. But they were just adamant about that because that's another number that FEMA or whomever is going to need at some point to determine the impact of this.
Right.
So if you're out of a job due to the COVID-19 and you have not filed for unemployment, they're asking you to file, and you'll do that through the local employment commission office.
Right, and they've really loosened up the restrictions on that. They're trying to get it out as fast as they can, and they've changed up some of the requirements to make it easier for people to get unemployment because of this.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Other than that, our phone numbers are available to you if you have a specific question, and we may not have the answer, but we'll do everything in our power to get it.
Absolutely.
And we're here to work with you and for you.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. Keep your sense of humor and have a good Easter, and I will talk to you tomorrow.